a new list of evidence.
It's like, 100%. What crack are these people smoking?
God bless you for getting a pheasant, but like, we don't care how much you say you're pro-gun or how about your NRA endorsement, honey. Right. You passed red flags. Just damn it, Chris, we like doing it. We love to expose these people because you can't live in a red state like Indiana and then tell us how pro-gun you are and then pass gun control and sit there and expect us to be okay with that. Well, Chris, a lot of people have been asking over the last, off and on for the last couple of months, like, how did the Indiana Firearms Coalition get started? Like, what's the origin of this organization? It wasn't that long ago when a lot of states didn't have an in-state organization fighting for gun rights in the state capital. How did IFC come to be? That'd be a great time to do kind of an origins story on the history of the Indiana Firearms Coalition and why I think it's so necessary, not just to defend gun rights in Indiana, but as people are going to find out, it spreads to beyond just what happens within the borders of Indiana. So I think that, to me, Chris, you can't talk about Indiana politics and not gun politics without talking about red flag gun seizures, because, you know, everyone now knows about red flag laws. There's 13 states, I believe, have a version of red flags. But what a lot of folks don't know is that when Connecticut passed red flags in 1999, that was the first state. And frankly, no one was anybody surprised that they passed a gun control bill. But when Indiana did it in 2005, the second state in the country and the first red state in America, it was a major, or it should have been a major wake-up call to everybody, because now we have a red state that did it. And frankly, it happened with basically zero opposition of any kind. And part of me understands the reason why. There was a high-profile murder of a police officer in the metro, and the wake of that situation where a bad guy who had his guns taken away but then returned to him and then murdered a cop, you know, they used that momentum to enact the law. And part of me understands the emotional reaction. I mean, it's at a human level, we can all understand that. The problem is that the law that was enacted in 2005, it was even worse than most modern day red flag laws, because it allowed cops to grab guns in advance from anybody they deemed dangerous. And that's the operative word. If you're dangerous, your guns can be taken away. And there basically was no definition. And there wasn't even a probable cause requirement. There was no charges having to be filed requirement. There's no, conviction, of course, requirement. It simply allowed the cops who think that somebody could be dangerous to take their guns away. And that kind of kicked off a bit of a big movement that it took some time to grow. But now you have other red states all around the country talking about we need to pass a version of red flags. And I want to have you on here, Chris, because you run Ohio Gun Owners, and you can give a lot of context on what happens then when a red state in the heartland like Indiana adopts red flags, and how long, how it's used by governors like former Governor Kasich in Ohio to advance red flags. More on that in a few minutes. But that was in 2005. And then you passed, 15 years past, whatever it was, 2019. Well, now everyone's talking about red flags. Red flags is not a new idea. Everyone knows how bad they are. And a lot of gun owners in Indianapolis, or in the state in general, were pissed because instead of repealing red flag laws in Indy, the legislature expanded them even further. Again, this is 2019. So in 2019, what they did was they said, okay, if you're hit with a red flag law here in Indiana, now the county clerks are required to report anybody who's labeled dangerous to NICS. And so you're done for life. You're never, ever going to buy a gun for the rest of your life. And prior to that,
you better be personal friends with a U.S. senator if you want to have any chance of getting yourself off of that list.
Exactly. And, so there was some wiggle room, I guess, from the 2005 window to 2019. And if the clerks thought it was BS, they could simply not enter your name into NICS. They took that away in 2019. And by they, we're talking about the Republicans. Because as we all know, Democrats have no power in Indiana politics at all. They haven't for a long time. So the Republicans,
as it should be,
required these clerks to put a gun owner's name in NICS if they were labeled as dangerous. And that was it. And then they added penalties, criminal penalties. So if you were someone who was labeled dangerous and you still had a firearm, it's a misdemeanor conviction, a misdemeanor crime, jail time for you. And then the same thing, if you give somebody a firearm who's been labeled dangerous, felony conviction for you. So, and of course, has to be repeated. There's no charges filed. There's no criminal conviction. There's not even an indictment required. Simply being deemed dangerous is enough to get you red flagged. And as everybody watching knows, I'm sure there's all kinds of excellent pro-gun cops in the city of Indy and the actual city of Indianapolis. But we also all know that this department is hell-bent on destroying the Second Amendment. And so when you give a city police department, unelected bureaucrat command staff who then tells their officers, go out there and declare them dangerous, we'll never know how many Hoosiers lost their guns for a lifetime, having never been charged with a crime. And so, Chris, when this thing got to the floor in 2019, this group did not exist yet. It passes the House 90-2 and 36-10, which is as close to unanimous as you can normally get when it comes
God
to
bless
passing
those
anything
two
big.
in the House. That was that took some cojones to stand up there and do what's right.
One of those was Kurt Knisley. He was one of the only two people in the entire House who was a no vote. I forget the other guy's name. I shouldn't forget that, but I did. But the key thing here, I think, besides remembering the betrayal from the RINOs, is who else did not engage. NRA didn't say anything about trying to oppose this in 2019. NSSF said nothing trying to oppose this in 2019. I don't know if any other gun group in the country, maybe Nagger opposed this. They probably did in 2019, but no organized opposition from anywhere, which is why it could pass 90-2. And so I know, Chris, I remember calling you that day. I was like, if something doesn't change, every single gun bill that has been enacted in Indiana is going to get repealed bit by bit by bit. They're going to get a worse version of red flags again. And what's more, now it was spreading all across red America, especially in Ohio. Chris, what was happening with John Kasich at that time in the fight for his fight to pass what he called, was it pink flags or pink slips? Or
expanded pink slips. Yeah, so what happened was, and I know we're talking about 2019 right now, but let's back up 1 year. February 14 of 2018 was when that Yahoo walked into the Parkland, Florida, school, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas or whatever it's called, and murdered all those people. We could sit here and discuss that, but what happened as a knee-jerk reaction was the Florida legislature immediately passed a massive, under Governor Rick Scott at the time, passed a massive gun control omnibus bill. It had all kinds of stuff in it, but chief amongst them was red flag gun confiscation. John Kasich, who was the governor of Ohio at the time, looked at what was happening down there. And keep in mind, this is NRA endorsed John Kasich, but before he was NRA endorsed John Kasich, he was F-rated John Kasich because he had voted for the Clinton assault weapons ban as a member of Congress back in the day. So Kasich, a gun control communist at heart, looks at what happened down in Florida, and then he immediately goes to work pushing the Ohio legislature. He comes out of the press conference and calls for them to push a red flag gun confiscation bill. I was there in the press conference when that happened, and he was sitting there regaling the fake news media, and I was allowed to actually stand there at the time. I was shocked I wasn't kicked out of the room, but he was regaling them with the fact that our neighbors next door in Indiana have it, and that was kind of a one-off. Everybody now understands why Florida passed it because of what just happened down there. But if we can pass it here in Republican-controlled Ohio, that will send the message all across the country that they can pass it there too in these Republican states. And then so I was leading OGO. We were pretty new at the time. We started throwing some monster rallies out in front of the Ohio State House. But then all the news media started bombarding us. They would go over to Richmond, Indiana, which is right there on the eastern border, right on I-70. What is it? I-70. It's I-70 there. And they went over there to that sheriff and asked him questions about how they've implemented red flags over there. And then they come back over and they do the counter to that story with me over in Dayton. But they were using Indiana to bludgeon the Ohio General Assembly to say, hey, those Republicans did it. And we had to fight through that tooth and nail because of the leverage that they had on us. It wasn't so bad, they said over there in Indiana. Why can't we do it here? And so we had to go to absolute war with the Republican caucuses in the Ohio General Assembly because the neighboring state, and that was a huge hurdle that we had to overcome.
Yeah, definitely. Once that momentum gets going, especially in the contiguous state, it's used by the opponents or the proponents of whatever the issue is to make really big moves on that bill. And it wasn't just happening there. We were hearing this in Iowa, all kinds of red states in the Midwest. We're talking about and pointing to Indy, saying, hey, the GOP can do it there and do it with almost unanimous support and nobody even opposes it. Then why can't we do it here? And so the Dorr Bros got together 2021 and said, we have got to get established and get them. And we had a lot of gun owners who were calling from Indiana saying, we need a vehicle to fight with here in the state. Help us get something set up. So, yeah, fine, we're going to do it. So we launched Indiana Firearms Coalition in the summer, fall of 2021 to put the brakes on this crap, to protect Hoosiers and crush this momentum. And when you launch a gun rights organization in a new state, you launch it with just, with nothing in the bank, but a really established game plan, battle plan of hitting critical mass as fast as we can.
Exactly.
So we had to spend basically at least 2 years, 2 sessions trying to hit critical mass. So we used direct mail, we used email marketing, digital ads, text messages, all the tools that we knew from other states that we worked in to establish a fighting force to get stuff going. And it began in 2022. And Chris, as you remember, it was a good thing that we did because the next session, 2023, RINO Senator Jack Sandlin, and of course he's deceased now, he's passed on. I'm not going to speak too much ill of the dead, but this guy was a deputy chief, Indy PD, right? Retired. So now he's the law and order, pro-gun supposedly, but pro-regulation Republican in the Senate trying to expand red flag laws even further. So this is his bill draft. And Chris, I'm going to fix the screen. I didn't get that done before we went live here, Chris. But this is the bill that he filed, 2023 session, and it would have dramatically expanded red flags again. So first you have 05, then you have 2019. This bill would have gone even further. What it did was expanded the list of who could file a red flag law against you to basically being virtually anybody. That was number one. So a lot of additional people besides just law enforcement could hit you with a red flag attack. And then it added new list of, in the word evidence, Chris, it just makes me lose my mind. A new list of evidence that could be used by the judge in the red flag hearing, which, to be clear, you know nothing about and you can't attend it. It's an ex parte hearing to decide if you're dangerous. And one of the things that Sandlin wanted to use in the list of evidence was the recent acquisition of ammunition, which probably everyone watching this video does this many, many times a year, unless you buy them by the pallet, in which case, God bless you. And so the evidence that could be used against you was simply buying ammo. The third thing it did was it gave more time for the courts to decide on whether or not they wanted to return your firearms at the end of your red flag seizure from 14 days to 60 days. So it was a dang good thing that we got going, Chris, because this bill was moving. It was rocking and rolling. We began to do mail on this, digital on this, text on this, email on this, and we were able to finally shut that bill down. But
what year was that? What year was that?
2023, just 2 years ago.
Yeah. See, what it really, okay, number one, I like how these people sometimes they'll use moments of injustice, right? When somebody got shot or somebody got killed, they will use that not really they'll just use it as an excuse to attack your Second Amendment freedoms. Never during 2023 did you see people like this using the fact that Joe Biden was going to war against our gun rights day in and day out to try to pass pro-gun expansions. No, they're just going to try to sit there and appease the fake news media and the radical left gun grabbers by introducing this stuff. Also, I love how what was my point here? When you're going through the list of things that qualified under this new expansion, it sounded to me that you were literally saying the exercise of your Second Amendment freedom to go and buy ammo was
Guilty.
Justification to strip that freedom away from you.
100%.
It's like,
100%.
what crack are these people smoking?
And again, the problem and the whole purpose behind this video and why we had to get going is that when Sandlin did this, nobody in a position of power stood up there and railed against him. The NRA didn't touch it. The NSSF didn't touch it. None of the rest of the national groups have touched it because they just are not, either they're not watching, or B, they don't care about the red flag issue, because to challenge red flags in Indianapolis means challenging Republicans. And it's easy to do it against the Democrats. So we roll hot into 2024, Chris, as you know, pushing big time for two main bills. And we have Larissa Sweet and Zach Payne, two very aggressive pro-gun stalwarts in the House. And they're pushing a bill. First bill was to repeal red flags altogether, which should have happened, obviously, a long time prior. Yes. But they weren't there, and neither were we. And then also the Second Amendment Preservation Act. So two major bills, because again, like you said, Biden's in the White House. So we need SAPA to protect us against federal gun control, but we got to get rid of red flag gun seizures. Yeah. Both of these bills, predictably, were nuked by our pro-gun Republican leaders in Indy. And then when session ends and the primaries roll out, it wasn't the RINOs who get these primaries. It's our friends. Zach Payne gets a primary. Larissa Sweet gets a primary. All the people who are trying to undo the damage done by the rest of the RINOs are then targeted for removal. And this happened then in 2024. Now this is just last year now, Chris. But thankfully, at this point, IFC did have some basic critical mass. We were able to go to war in the primaries to expose the RINO traitors who had been advancing gun control and who are now trying to take out the few Republicans who were actually willing to try to undo the damage that the GOP had done before they were there. And that is the difference between the Indiana Firearms Coalition and everybody else. We simply don't care who's offended in the powerful positions in the Capitol. We're here to protect our gun rights, not to protect politicians. And so primaries come along, and we're not just going after open seats. We're going after people like Roderick Bray, Senate Majority Leader. Of course, his daddy was in office for a very long time. We've had him here for a very long time. Powerful, powerful family. He had a primary, though, and his primary opponent surveyed 100% pro-gun and vowed to help us repeal red flags. Roderick wouldn't say anything. So he was on the list. Sharon Nagel, absolutely. House Majority Assistant Whip. She goes on the list. 12-year incumbent. We don't care how much you say you're pro-gun or how about your NRA endorsement, honey. Right. You passed red flags as a member of leadership. So Karen Engelman.
It's not what you say. It's what you do.
Exactly. So all these people, Karen Engelman, Jim Pressel, all these incumbents are on the list. And we're going to start doing our full program. More on that in a few moments. And I know one of the conversations that we had at the time internally, Chris, is what do we do with Ben Smaltz? Because everyone knows that Ben Smaltz has been one of the gun guys off and on. I would certainly argue that he always takes the best bills and waters them down substantially before passage, aka constitutional carry a couple of years ago. And so there's certainly some good things he has done, but the guy voted for red flag gun seizures. So like everybody else, we're taking guns away from Hoosiers who have not been arrested, not been indicted, not been convicted of anything. And we're doing it in secret hearings that gun owners know nothing about and cannot attend. And our goal in the primaries, this is just last year now, 2024, was to send a freaking message. And so, Amen. Ben Smalls, you voted for red flags. I know you're a good. I know he's a good guy. Here he is in committee talking on a bill. If you've never been to the basement in the Capitol, folks, you're not you're not missing a whole lot. It's some of these committee rooms, they can be kind of rough. But this has been working on a bill, and a lot of people were angry. A lot of the politicos were angry. But our goal was very, very simple. We're going to remind every single RINO in the Capitol, even if none of our, of the pro-gun candidates, win, even if none of the incumbents are removed by gun owners, you are all going to remember there's a new sheriff in town. We're not the NRA. We're not the NSSF. We're not the rest of these national groups which fundraise so heavily in red states like Indiana and do nothing in the primaries. We're going to hold you accountable. And so our primary program last year, Chris, was big. We began with one of our favorite tools is these digital ads. We love doing these because it allows us to put a detailed video update right into a gun owner's phone, their email, whatever, giving them a detailed perspective of what their incumbent has done. All the bills they voted for. So when the Republicans vote for red flags, when they vote to ban Glock switches, all the rest of the crap they've done to attack our gun rights, that all goes into a video. And that way, everybody has the facts. And the best part about these, Chris, of course, is that nobody has to believe me. They can simply look it up themselves. We give you the bill number. We give you the date. Sometimes we give you the time. We say, look it up for yourself. So this video was against the Senate leader, Roderick Bray. You can kind of see, Chris, on the right-hand side there in that red box,
that went really well.
83,000 views. And IFC has a lethally effective social media team, which frankly, they're far more intelligent than I am. And I can do the videos, but they get them. And we're talking about targeting down to the city block now, inside the district, to gun owners. So we're not shotgun blasting information. These are rifle, these are sniper shots to just the right people. Excellent. That was one of our big videos. We use text a lot as well. We'll text out these same types of things. That's not going to work for a feed here.
I like it though. You can read it and you can kind of see what's going on there.
So we text out these same things in these districts. It's all in district, so everyone knows exactly in district what their lawmakers have done. And I had one last shot here, Chris. This is the primaries. This is about half of the races that we played in. But you can just kind of see exactly why the RINOs hate us so much. 33,000 views, 65,000 views, 55,000 views, 32, 56, 123,000 views in SD8, 72,000 views, 60,000 views. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gun owners across the state got to see exactly how these supposedly pro-gun Republicans voted on their gun rights in the Capitol. And everyone knows look, let's just be honest. It sucks to go to basically any state capital in the country because you can never find parking. That's certainly the case here in Indy. There's always thugs and predators walking around. That's dang sure the case here in Indy. And the whole place is just not fun to go to. And so what we did in this primary program is externalized all of the crap that these RINOs love to keep hidden, love to keep secret. And when you do that, you do two things. Number one, you're going to give a lot of information to people who desperately need it. And then number two, you're going to get a lot of pushback and a lot of hate from the establishment who is trying to protect their own people. Happens in every state that we operate in. The RINOs will attack you. But a lot of times, and Chris, you can speak to this yourself too, it's easier for them to have surrogates attack us than do it themselves because they're in an election.
Yeah, that's 100% the truth. The main fact, it just boils down to this. There has to be a political cost. They have to pay a political price if they're going to take swings at our beautiful Second Amendment. And that's what these programs are designed to do. But yeah, here's what happens though. When IFC is sitting there launching these ads like this, what they will do is they will go have other conservatives. They will have other conservative organizations. They will have establishment gun lobby people turn around and counterattack the very people who are trying to hold these legislators accountable. And from what I remember, that's exactly what they did.
Exactly. We got hit hard. And of course, the thing is that I think these people actually
can
believe,
take it.
Chris, that they think that they're not going to expect this. They're not going to see it coming.
You're planning on it.
When we attack them. So you got these idiots like Chris Lee with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, NSSF. And I just want to be clear for everyone watching, again, if you don't know this, NSSF does not exist to protect gun rights. They exist to protect retailers. And
Exactly.
retailers, no offense to a retailer, they want to make money. I get it, no problem. And so to do that, they have to find a way to make the tyranny that we have to go through to buy a gun on that 4473 palatable. That's what NSSF is all about. They have often, behind the scenes, endorsed gun control. And as recently as last year in Wyoming, another red state, they were openly pushing for fixed NICS, mental health gun control, to pass dreadful gun control in a very red state.
And I just want to harp on that for just a moment here, because anytime you're talking about expanding gun control under the guise of mental health, you are shifting freedom over to a bureaucratic class of scumbags.
Yes.
That, and if you dig down into some of this legislation, you will see massive expansions of who is allowed to file these red flag laws. And when one of them is mental health professionals, sometimes that can be a school counselor, a college counselor, that can be a somebody you go to as a veteran to just get help for your maybe some sleep medications because you came back from wherever and you're having a hard time sleeping. But this transfer of power to the bureaucratic class is freedom that is just gone, because it's so hard to get that stuff back. But that's what NSSF exists. I mean, they do this all the time. They've tried to do it in Ohio. They've tried to do it in Wyoming. They try to do it here. And that's exactly why these RINOs who voted for red flag laws, that's why they turned to them and said, here, have your guys go attack this organization that's trying to hold us accountable for these gun control votes.
And that's what happened verbatim. Indiana Gun Owners Forum attacked us. I've never seen them in the Capitol. I don't think they've ever even walked into the Capitol. NSSF, their director, Chris Lee. Here's a photograph of old Chris. Standard, just pose photograph. I mean, God bless you for getting a pheasant. But I am sick and tired, Chris, of people who focus on sales of firearms and hunting laws, trying to be the arbiter of constitutional freedom.
Yeah.
You people are trying to make it easier for all of us to submit to the tyranny. Your job is to regulate tyranny. Your job is to streamline tyranny. You never opposed red flag gun seizures in 2019. You probably did nothing back in 2005. And you sit here and attack the only organization working the ground in the primaries in 2024, attacking us for being scams. The irony of this, unfortunately, we're just used to it. We're used to it.
Well, it speaks for itself, honestly. When people like Chris here, and it hurts me so badly that his name is mine. But honestly, the moment they go to post this kind of a picture as justification for their pro-gun bona fides, to prove their pro-gun bona fides, it instantly conjures images of Barack Obama when he was standing there with that over and under too.
John Kerry.
That look is almost proof positive that you're on the wrong side of things going forward. I mean, you can almost see the crease lines in the folds of that orange blaze orange that he's got on as he went and got that from Walmart before he went out to go hunting. But that's not freedom. That's submission, and we're just done with it,
because we're seeing what's getting us. We're getting red flags, more red flags, and more red flags in Indy when people like this, Chris Lee with NSSF, are at the helm, supposedly trying to defend gun rights in the state capitol. So our program runs, for a month and a half before Election Day. Digital, text, email, social media, all kinds of stuff. And Chris, I'm just going to toot our horn here for a few minutes. There were other organizations who were trying to help, and we appreciate the help.
You bet.
It's 2024, a year ago, and you can't do campaign tactics from 2004. And so a lot of these organizations were trying, but their mail landed a week after Election Day. And our program was exactly on point, and you could see it for yourself on our Facebook page this very day. Hundreds of thousands, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of video views on this program. Now, on election night, it really paid out in big dividends. One of the biggest names to fall in the state capitol, Sharon Nagel. And this woman, again, 12-year incumbent, House Majority Assistant Whip. She was heavily involved in the upgrading of red flags in 2019, went down hard, 60-40 in the primaries against a very underfunded opponent who was a brand new candidate, had no experience in politics. But guess what? He had a gun rights organization out there who was very angry with Sharon, and we made sure every gun owner in her district knew exactly what she had done. And so you're beginning to see how this works. You have to have an organization, I think, that has the guts to walk into the Capitol and tell the establishment, we're not okay with this. And then if you're not going to change your path immediately, we're going to hold you accountable ourselves. And we just, damn it, Chris, we like doing it. We love to expose these people because you can't live in a red state like Indiana and then tell us how pro-gun you are and then pass gun control and sit there and expect us to be okay with that. Many organizations were. That's why they were allowed, the politicos, to get the idea that no one's going to attack us. And it took us to walk in there, Indiana Firearms Coalition, run by the Dorr brothers, to get in there and really make affect culture change, as we like to say. And here, I think, here is the best part of the entire story, because the goal from the beginning was to stop the development of red flag laws in Indy. It was to eventually repeal red flag laws, but for love of heaven, stop the advancement of these red flag laws. So this session, we're back to Ben Smaltz now, Chris. This session, Ben Smaltz, who, again, we did light him up in the primary because he backed gun control as a Republican. He was the author of and eventually passed House Bill 1137. And this bill purportedly is designed to deal with some of the abuses of red flag gun seizures. To be very clear, this is not a repeal of red flag gun seizures. It should be, but it's not. But what it does is it removes your name from NICS, they say, if the red flag law against you has been expired or has been revoked by the courts. So we had the governor signed this this year. It passed through the legislature. I'm going to give some vote counts here in a moment, Chris, but it passed through easily. And now it's the first step towards beginning to chip away at the damage caused by the existing red flag laws. Again, what this does is if the red flag law expires against you, or if the judge revokes it, your name is removed from the NICS database. But Chris, I don't really give a lot of faith to any of this at all, because we know exactly how hard it is to actually get your name out of a NICS database, because the state of Indiana has they have no control over this. This is run by the FBI, the federal government, DOJ, and the bureaucrats who run that department, that agency. And so they did not repeal this, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get your name off of the NICS database. But Chris, the beautiful part in all of this is that everybody in the Capitol, all the insiders, told us this is passing for one reason, and that is everybody in Indy is terrified, and they want to cover their political ass, because the next primary that comes up, they know if they voted for red flag laws, they're going to get hit, not by NSSF, not by anybody else. They're going to get hit by the Indiana Firearms Coalition. And you can tell when that's exactly what's happening, Chris, because the roll call vote in the House, you want to guess? No, I'll just tell you. I'm just going to tell you. The roll call vote on this bill in the House was 91-0. Every Politico, both parties knew they had to get right on this issue to try to buy cover at election time.
You want to know the absolute sure sign that you left a whole lot of good policy on the table? It's when a vote passes unanimously and includes all of the Democrats. That's when you know that there was pro-gun policy that could have been enacted in the same bill, but it didn't go quite far enough. So, but I really love the idea that this this idea that red flags was just going to get bigger and bigger and expand more and more. I'm very glad that idea was arrested simply by IFC, the Indiana Firearms Coalition, starting this program, driving up the cost for votes for gun control.
Right.
And that's all it took. I've always said, to take the easy route, if we wanted to start Indiana Firearms Coalition, just take the easy route. You could sit there, you could kiss the ass of the political establishment, in this case, the Republicans. You could kiss their butts, and then you could blame everything that goes wrong in the state on the Democrats, who statistically don't even matter in Indianapolis. But that's exactly how you lose freedoms. It's the easy route, but it's the dangerous route. It's the death knell for our gun rights when that path is taken. So well done.
Yeah,
IFC
91-0, 49-0 in the Senate, and the concurrence vote 96-0 in the House on the final concurrence vote with the Senate amended version of HB 1137. So this is what it all is about, Chris. Like you said, we have taken a state that was hell-bent to further expand red flags just 2 years ago with Jack Sandlin, and now they've done a complete 180, and they're now running as fast as they can in the opposite direction to try to cover themselves for the next primary. Obviously, it does not hurt having a new governor. Getting Eric Holcomb the hell out of office was a great part of that. But here's just a final little memo to all the politicos who may watch this video, or your staff or anybody else. We appreciate this gesture, I guess, but we all know what this is. This is a CYA move designed to protect you from our members in the primaries in 26. If you want real protection, the standard is very simple. It's a full and complete repeal of red flag gun seizures here in Indiana. Zach Payne has the bill. You guys have nuked it many years in a row. That is the bill that we want to see on Governor Braun's desk. That is the standard. If you want cover from your previous vote in 2019, if you were in office at that time, that is the threshold that we demand, and that we're going to continue to prosecute you people for. Because again, with no term limits, look at Sharon Nagel, 12-year incumbent. We will make incumbent RINOs pay for this vote in 2019 for years and years and years to come.
Until you vote
that
to
absolutely to the bank. Yeah, exactly. Until you repeal it, in which case then you are absolutely crystal clear with us going forward. Guys, if you like this tactic, this philosophy, and this passion when it comes to gun rights, get involved today. Go to joinifc.com. Right here is the image. It's IndianaFirearmsCoalition.org. That is the full website. Go here, get involved in this fight. We need more Hoosiers who understand that just because we're in a red state does not guarantee that we actually have pro-gun freedom fighters. Far from it in elected office, in leadership in particular right now in the state capitol. Get involved today. JoinIFC.com, and much more to come. For all the rest of the haters watching this video, we'll have much more to come for you guys in the coming days and weeks. This fight will never go away, and we're always going to be here to defend the Second Amendment and rout out RINOs and attack anti-gun Democrats and all of the enablers who make it all possible. You guys have a great day and stay free.